The Alien franchise returns to the big screen in just a week with Alien Romulus, a prequel sequel that's sure to be one of the best installments yet. Coming from Fede Alvarez of Evil Dead and Don't Breathe fame, it has fans even more excited to see his twisted new vision. With the film switching from a straight to streaming to a theatrical release and both Ridley Scott and James Cameron giving their blessings on this one, it's apparent that Alien Romulus is not to be missed. Let's talk about everything we know so far on the upcoming project, including that mysterious title. During Disney's 2019 Comic-Con panel, the focus was without a doubt Avengers Endgame, as it took place only weeks before its release. There was a lot more to this panel, however, because at the time, Disney had just acquired 20th Century Fox. This led to the latest Deadpool and Wolverine movie we all just saw this past month and likely had spoiled, as well as Alien Romulus arriving next week. So yes, Ripley is now officially a Disney princess. Same with you, Queen! You might be worried about this one regarding the parent company it falls under, but rest assured there is so much to love about this movie and we haven't even seen it yet. Let me explain. The basics of Romulus is that it's set in between Alien and Aliens. So just like Saw X from this past year, it's basically the 1.5 of this franchise. It is both a sequel and a prequel. A sprequel? That almost sounds like squeakquel. Director Fede Alvarez has said that you don't need to see the other films in the franchise to understand this one. I'm sure seeing the other movies will aid the experience, however. Fede has mentioned that multiple moments are inspired by the past movies, but especially Alien and Aliens. He even said that he called director James Cameron when he first started writing the script, and has alluded to a big moment towards the end of his film, just like in Aliens.
Get away from her, you bitch!
I don't think Romulus will have too many ties to the other films, as it seems like a standalone set in the same universe, but it won't be without callbacks, just like his take on Evil Dead. Remember the Delta Mia was sitting on? We'll talk more about the director later. First, let's review our cast. It stars Kaylee Spaney as Rain Carradine. Not only is her handle metal AF, but Carradine is played by a phenomenal actress. Before the last few years, where Spaney has starred in countless hits, I was singing her praises. She starred in 2020's The Craft Legacy, an unnecessary requel to the 1996 masterpiece, but the one saving grace of the film was her focal character. I even said in my review that Kaylee Spaney is the best actress who keeps making bad movies. I finally feel like she's breaking out of that this year with her probably best role to date in Civil War, where she plays Jesse Cullen, an amateur war photographer caught in the middle of a modern American Civil War. From the Romulus trailers alone, I can tell she is going to rock here in the sci-fi space. Carradine and her friends seem desperate for an escape from their mundane lives. They comprise a plan to steal highly regulated equipment off of a derelict ship floating around in space. I can already tell this character is going to be very relatable and probably have the worst day of her life in this movie. On board this ship, titled Romulus, as you might have guessed, are eggs filled with facehuggers. I've gathered from the trailers that the majority of her friends will fall victim to these fast little buttholes, and will have xenomorph babies bursting out of their chests at some point, like this fella right here. Speaking of our meatbags who will likely leave Kaylee Spaney on her own halfway through this one, speculation of course, the supporting cast includes David Johnson, Archie Renault, Isabella Merced, Spike Fearn, and Eileen Wu. All young and up-and-coming actors, which makes this cast feel closer to the sequel. I hope this film finally shows the world Spaney's talent too. Sigourney Weaver had a minor role in the romantic comedy Annie Hall in 1977, but it wasn't until Alien a few years later that her career would explode. Maybe the same is about to happen here. Those original two movies are so effective for many reasons, but it's the cast that make them better than your average B-movie. I love that we spend nearly the first half of Alien focusing on low-wage workers complaining about their crappy company screwing them over, and yet it is so entertaining. The blue-collar atmosphere flavors that movie in such a unique light. Compare that to the illustrious and triumphant episodes of Star Trek or the Star Wars movies that made space travel look picturesque. Ridley Scott showed off the darker nature of the Western-feeling concept. In space, no one can hear you scream, and all that jazz. It looks like the franchise is back to those original roots with this new entry. Another big element that has me excited for this film is its original streaming release. The film was supposed to go straight to Hulu, but right before they started filming, it was announced that the film would have a theatrical release instead. This is likely for a few reasons. The same studio released Prey back in 2022, which was a massive streaming hit. Had they released the fifth entry in the Predator franchise in theaters, it could have made a ton of money. crazy. Evil Dead Rise just went down a similar path where it was supposed to be a Max original and then they dropped it in theaters instead. That movie pulled in $147 million. Just imagine the numbers that Prey would have done had they released that one in theaters. Thankfully, the studio isn't making that same mistake again. The biggest reason to be excited for this film, though, is Fede Alvarez. He's an incredible director with a bunch of killer projects already under his belt. After Sam Raimi saw his viral short film Panic Attack, he asked the guy to direct the next Evil Dead film. That 2013 movie is one of my personal favorite horror films of all time, featuring some of the most brutal, gore, and intense moments in any flick I've ever seen. I've probably seen that one about 100 times since it scarred me at a young age. After his breakthrough with an established property, though, Fede decided to create his own horror franchise, Don't Breathe. I personally love both films, even the misunderstood sequel. No, they didn't make the blind man a good guy, you're just watching two antagonists duke it out in squalor. Sometimes there just isn't a character to root for, except for that little girl, of course. Both films are pressure cooker home invasion flicks that are some of the most intense I've ever seen. If there's a top 10 list for this style of horror, the first Don't Breathe is certainly on there. Now, after a box office flop, a stint on television, and producing a few horror films himself, Fede is back in the director's chair with a film that I believe will be his comeback. He clearly has a lot of passion for this franchise, as he stated in multiple interviews now. He has even hyped up the film alongside franchise creator Ridley Scott in interviews and has done everything in his power to keep the public eye away from spoilers. I will say, however, you might want to avoid the most recent trailers and promo videos. I already feel as if some things have been spoiled for me. Unfortunately, the wonderful director can only do so much to prevent spoilers. Fede has revealed a few non-spoilery things about the film, including details on its mysterious title, Romulus. During an interview with the Movie Podcast, Alvarez reveals that the Roman myth will play a vital part in the new film's story. To sum it up, essentially brothers Romulus and Remus had a dispute over where they should place their city. After being given approval from the gods, Romulus won the debate, but Remus rejected this and was killed by his brother for it. There's also some famous imagery from the story where the two brothers in infancy suckle on the teats of a she-wolf. Maybe that's why we see this fella looking like he's given that facehugger the best Saturday night of his life? Well, we'll just have to see. Wait a minute, can you milk a facehugger? This is total speculation, and again, I don't think you'll see any remnants of this in the new movie arriving next week on August 16th, but could a new Alien vs. Predator film be in the works soon? Like I said earlier, Prey was a huge hit on Hulu. People loved that one, and if I had to guess, I'd imagine the same is about to happen with Romulus. I'd love to see these two sci-fi titans collide again for another insane crossover, especially after that last film, Requiem, where you couldn't even see what was happening for half of the movie. Did I say half? I mean like 90%. It sounds like the Predalien needs a redemption arc, baby. As you can tell, I am very hyped up for Alien Romulus. I'm predicting that this will be a standalone sequel that thankfully won't tie into the other films, but not without some Easter eggs here and there. I'm a bit sick of most continuations doing that at every turn. This film is likely going to feel like an exhilarating breath of fresh air in those regards. The Alien franchise might be filled with some hits and misses, but I have a lot of confidence in this flick from its cast and crew alone. I believe Romulus is going to be one of the best horror flicks of 2024. Don't miss it next week on August 16th in theaters, baby. Before we wrap up today's video, I'd like to thank the wonderful people that support this page. Patreon and channel members get to see exclusive weekly episodes of my Horror Hot Take series, where I do some goofy commentary over your favorite horror movies. There's a few episodes out already, and this week we're looking at Halloween 2018, suggested by Art the Clown members Slashing It with Matt. Thanks for the recommendation, Matt. Sign up now to be a part of the members exclusive series by clicking on the link in the description below, or by pressing the join button on my page. Thank you again to all of the folks that support me there. I'd also like to ask you all to subscribe to my new gaming channel, GullGotha. I'm playing horror games over there right now, so please consider subscribing. Help me reach my goal of 1,000 subscribers too. That would be pretty dope. Thank you to everyone who has already checked it out. What do you all think about Alien Romulus? Will this be the best Alien sequel since the 80s or what? I think so. Leave me your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you all again for watching, and don't forget to kill it out there, y'all.